Hi, I'm Danny with BuyRadarDetectors.com. I'm here today with Bob, President of Vail Corporation and Chief Product Engineer. Bob is known online as the Vail Guy, and his product, Vail G5, works to effectively reduce the targeting range of police laser guns, and also works against IR cameras. Bob is a radar detector expert because he's put hundreds of thousands of miles on his vehicle testing all of the popular radar detectors that are available today. And in this video, we're going to get his take on a couple of the high-end Whistler models, the CR85 and the CR90. Bob, what do you think of these Whistler detectors?
Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, okay? Whistler,
please don't.
I won't. Whistler is my favorite radar detector company. Okay, I have a close relationship with their engineering, and they're wonderful people. The organization is actually a wonderful organization, good people there, and you get a lot of value.
We get great feedback on their customer service all the time. That is the God's honest truth.
That's great.
We hear from our customers about how good the Whistler customer service and technical support people are.
That's very nice, because you don't always get that with even some of the more expensive companies. I'm sure you get plenty of, you can hear about that. But anyway, back to the Whistler. This is the CR90. This is a GPS enabled. The CR85 is basically the similar detector, right? Internals, but
right.
Without
these
the GPS.
Are very similar, the 85 and 90. The 90 adds GPS and it adds the onboard database of red light cameras and speed camera locations, that type of thing.
Right. Now this detector at the moment, these don't have Bluetooth, okay? So they're not going to synchronize to a smartphone app. I don't necessarily consider that so much of a limitation because I use Waze as a GPS type app on my smartphone that's available. You don't even need a radar detector. We're going to probably talk about that a little bit later in an audio meeting here, discussion session. But anyway, this detector, Whistler does really well with KA. They have something called KA Max mode, and this sensitivity to KA puts it right up there with the very top of the line detectors from the other manufacturers. So you get a lot of value in performance. X and K aren't as strong, and the off-axis, which we talked about before, which is the ability to detect radar off to the far sides, is not as good or as strong as they are in other detectors. So we talked about that. That's a double-edged sword. So around town, that can be a little bit of a pain with a very sensitive detector that has a lot of off-axis. And yet on the highway, what ultimately does is it's a great highway detector. Mm-hmm. But when you're driving around town, it doesn't necessarily beat you up as much either, because it's not quite as sensitive on X and K, and it doesn't have as great of a field of vision. You know what I'm saying on that? And so therefore, this detector works very well around town, as well as
now, there's a lot of configurability highway in these Whistlers as well, as far as city modes, and there's several different filters that you can select.
Exactly.
Certain things on and off to eliminate false alerts as well.
That's exactly right. I consider these detectors actually very technical, upwards on the Valentine, where you can actually do a lot of programming.
There's a lot of tweaking that seems to be.
A lot of tweaking. It's great out of the box, but what Whistler does, and I just want to show you a couple things before I power this on, is it does something called KA. What is it called? ID?
RSID?
RSID, thank you. See, what do I know? RSID. It'll actually tell you the frequency, the major frequencies of KA, so you're going to know. It also has...
Now, it's not telling you a specific frequency that it's detecting. It's kind of rounding to a general...
Correct.
34.7, for example, will show up if it's picking up 34.6.
Precisely, right. It's 33.8, 34.7, 35.5, and maybe some others. But yeah, you don't necessarily need to see all three frequencies like Escort does, where they really go, But anyway, it does well. It also has laser ID, which is unique, which gives you the pulse count of lasers. It also has the ability to see radar lasers that are very difficult to see with other detectors. These detectors are sold very much so in Europe, and they see different types of laser guns that we don't have in the States. And therefore, it has the ability to see even like the Dragon Eye or some of these other random or variable pulse rate guns. It can show you that. And I'm going to show you how this does. And before I do that too, Volvos, this is pretty sensitive with its laser. Volvos are running a laser-based lane departure or cruise control system as opposed to radar-based, okay? And that can occasionally set these guys off, and you'll always know when you're having it, there's a Volvo around. Now, Mike tells me that they're pre-programming, and that's the nice thing about it. You can lock out based on the pulse rate so it doesn't alert. That happens when you have wind shear detectors or sensors at airports. Can also set off a laser detector or sensitive detector, which this is. So you can lock these things out. Very cool.
Is that the only detector that you know of that has that feature?
Absolutely.
That's what I thought.
It's a very, very unique feature. And so we're going to kick this on now. These cameras that we're using here are using IR for focus. And what you're going to do here is you're going to probably see this guy alert to laser. Now we're going to let this guy power up here. I'm going to turn him on, right? Hopefully we're going to get this sucker to give me a moment here. Here we go. It's got a very bright OLED display.
I love the display on this model. I like the Pro 78 was the predecessor to these, and I like the display on that detector. They've improved on it with these, if you ask me.
No, I completely agree. I like the packaging. The old Pro 70, older I should say, Pro 78 and 695s, they had a shiny, big, if you recall, plastic.
It was a full face. That's more indented, correct?
Correct, and this has sort of got a pearlized or matte display, so it's not subject to reflection as much or glare that the others were. And this thing is extremely readable in all lighting conditions.
Yeah,
I mean, it is beautiful. I'm not sure. There you go. Now you're going to see, here's the laser. It's showing a pulse rate, if you can see that, at 3205. It'll change. If I put this down, it may pick. It also does GPS time, which is the only detector does it. It'll pick up the time server. There it is, 4098, 4070, 85. You see it showing up?
I think it's interesting that this is the only detector. We've reviewed a lot of detectors today, and this is the only one that's detected laser from our video camera.
That's right. And when if for those who really follow laser guns, you'll know if you're getting hit by a certain laser gun because of the way it alerts. It'll show that. So anyway, unique to
does that show the sensitivity of these detectors for laser, or is that sort of a drawback for filtering of the laser on these detectors?
No, I'm not quite sure if I understand your question. I don't see it as a drawback.
Would other models have seen this laser and just filtered it out, or are we seeing that this detector is just more sensitive?
I would say it's more sensitive, and detectors that don't alert, and there are plenty of them that don't alert to some of these advanced laser guns, are not just filtering it out, they just don't recognize the pulse rate. So I put this right up there with the Valentine in being able to, and in fact, again, being able to lock out or identify pulse rate specifically is really unique to Whistler, and I think you get a tremendous amount of value for the money. And one other thing I want to talk about that's also very important on this is the filtering. They have that TFSR traffic flow sensor rejection, right, which are K-band transponders that are on the road. You'll see them in certain places, they'll set off. Also the K-band lane departure systems and cruise controls and all those things. Now a lot of companies that have TSR like Escort or even Valentine, the TMF filtering, they will slow the response of the detector to K-band to the point that I think it could potentially put you at risk for an instant onshot of IO of K. Whistler, however, has the ability to finely tailor the delays. So you can, based on this filter 123 or the TFSR plus filter 123, you can fine tune on a speed to a point that you can eliminate falses and yet still maximize your performance to K for IO. And again, that's a very unique, and Mike, who's the lead engineer here, takes great pride in these subtle things that unfortunately I pick up and notice on these detectors that most drivers probably wouldn't even realize. But there's a lot of thought that goes into these detectors, and again, I just love Whistler, and I'm looking forward to the future products from these guys, and they're always going to get better.
Sounds to me like you're saying this is a very good high-performance radar detector at a value price that offers a lot of configurability, maybe even similar to like the red line in configurability. We were talking in another video about how that is more of an enthusiast radar detector because of some of the configurable options.
Exactly.
You see some of that in these Whistlers as well.
Absolutely, and even though Escort's been late to the game, and even Cobra to some extent, they're speeding up their detectors, Whistler's always been fast, super fast. And they're right up there with the V1, I mean, really insofar as being able to respond to IO. So this is a great detector for IO, quick trigger, and it's got wonderful audio ramp, signal ramp, super quick detector, and it's just a tremendous, it's an overachiever for its price point, there's no question about it. Can't recommend it highly enough.
Well, Bob, thank you very much for sharing your opinion on these two models. Both the CR85 and CR90 are available on our website at byradarodetectors.com. Both of these detectors are priced under $200. If you decide to purchase one of these models, be sure to pair it with Veil G5 stealth coating. This is Bob's product, and it's a perfect complement to these radar detectors. A radar detector alone is not enough to protect you from police laser. When you combine it with Veil G5, it's going to buy you a few precious seconds to react and slow down. So when you choose a radar detector, be sure to pair it with Veil G5.
Okay, and would you, excuse me for being out of order, but I think it's just one other thing. Also a USB cable.
Yeah, I'm glad you thought of that. USB port right on the cigarette lighter plug.
Right.
It's a huge benefit to this detector because you can plug your phone in and charge it, or run an app, or like Waze, like you were mentioning, at the same time.
Who doesn't have a smartphone? So fabulous, a lot of value for the money. So
if you have any other questions on these products, check out our website at byradarodetectors.com. If you want to see other videos like this one, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/byradarodetectors. I'm Danny. For Bob with Veil, thanks for watching.